Hi there, welcome back. So today we're going to learn about some effective tools and skills for conscious listening and conscious communicating. Sometimes the best gift that we can give somebody is our full, undivided attention and our genuine and authentic presence. Particularly because we are all very busy and we are very used to multitasking and being overwhelmed with sensory input and content that we're processing all the time. So oftentimes when we're speaking or when we're listening, we're not present. And research indicates that actually more than 50% of our awareness or our thoughts are elsewhere. It's believed that an individual has at least 6,200 thought processes or thoughts a day. That's a lot, and that's a lot of internal distraction that gets in the way of having really enhanced communication.
We can be more mindful through active listening and active communicating in the present moment. This comes from a genuine desire to better understand, connect, and improve efficiency and rapport. Through active listening, we're focusing on new information rather than preparing our response or being attached to old information. Through active communicating, we are expressing with an intention to educate in a clear and direct manner. Mindful communication is rooted in interest, curiosity, and an open-minded consideration.
Research indicates that only 7% of our messages are conveyed through words. The rest of the way that we communicate is implicit and through the subtle exchange of body language.
The body is a fascinating expression of communication and a powerful vehicle for complementing our messages. Taking the time to regularly check in with the body is essential for conscious communication. Even the simplest shifts, movements, or intentions can bridge major communication gaps and promote a sense of subtle connection and safety.
We can foster safe environments that promote healthy expression and healthy communication by identifying attributes within our colleagues that are positive, focusing on our team members' strengths, being willing to give them compliments and specifically point out details that warrant positive attention and recognition. It's important to recognize that when we do compliment people, we don't want it to be a short blanket statement. We want to take a little bit of extra time to let that individual know specific details of why we appreciate their work. By acknowledging those special details, we're cueing to that individual that we really are paying attention. And that individual is also then gathering really specific feedback that's going to help build their confidence as well as build their understanding of what skill set is perceived to be helpful for their colleagues. And that's going to encourage them to do that more often.
A strength-based approach to building each other up and being genuinely supportive of our peers is one of the best ways to instate trauma-informed care and resiliency in our work culture.
It is inevitable that when we're working with people, there's going to be feedback, there's going to be constructive criticism. And in the same way that when we give compliments or positive feedback, when we're giving constructive criticism, we want to be very specific and we want to be direct with that degree of detail as well. And this helps an individual get a really clear idea of how and where they need to improve. It's also really important to approach the conversation from observing behavior rather than coming across as a personal attack. So you might want to think about saying something such as, "I've noticed when," versus "you are." And that immediately helps the individual be a little less defensive and more willing to hear the feedback.
Typically, we tend to focus on the critical feedback or the negative. However, by only focusing on the weakness, we're only creating competence. By focusing on strengths, we create excellence.
And don't forget that old adage, think before you speak. This is hard to do sometimes, and particularly when the world is moving so very quickly, and we're not accustomed in this culture of pausing before we speak. We're very accustomed to responding right away. But give yourself permission and give other people permission to move into conversation at a slower pace. And if that requires a little bit of space to pause, to reflect, to redirect if needed, and then to re-enter when one feels a little bit more composed, a little bit more in line with their ability to articulate and express what's really going on. And the pause, the grounding, the being present gives us the space to really reflect on what it is that we're about to say. Gives us the opportunity to respond versus react. Reaction is usually stemmed from assumptions and judgments, prior conditionings, or defense. A response is when we are able to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more arrived, a little bit clearer. It is a manner of receiving and giving information that is by nature de-escalating, so it calms the dynamic down. So when we are more present, when we are more grounded, when we allow ourselves to move at a more conscious pace, we are going to be more responsive and less reactive. The more self-aware we are, the more present we are, and the more grounded we are in that conscious experience of sharing space with somebody in a genuinely curious way, the better communicators we're going to be, the better listeners we're going to be. When we feel like we can speak and be heard, and when we feel like we can listen and understand, we are creating a safer environment. As always, I thank you for your time and attention and your due diligence to these subject matters. And please know that I'm here if you have questions, comments, or concerns.